I'm Olivia Miller, 26, stumbling along the gravel shoulder of Route 9 with my 2-year-old clinging to my chest. Semi-trucks thunder past, shaking the ground, and fear gnaws at me, but I keep walking. Then tires screech. My father's black truck swings into park right in front of us. He jumps out, pale with rage, eyes scanning the empty road behind me. "Olivia, where is your vehicle?" He shouts over the traffic. I look him in the eyes and speak the truth. "Anthony took my keys. He says I'm medically unfit to drive." The silence inside the truck is heavy, a stark contrast to the roar of the highway we just left. Air conditioning blasts against my face, drying the sweat, but doing nothing for the cold knot in my stomach. Noah has fallen asleep instantly in his car seat, lulled by the vibration of the engine. I stare at his small, peaceful face, and my hands start shaking. Adrenaline fades, leaving only shame. "How long?" my father asks, not looking at me. His eyes are fixed on the road, hands gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles whiten. He's not asking as a dad, he's asking as a police chief interviewing a witness. 6 months, I whisper. Since Noah turned 18 months. He takes a sharp breath. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because it didn't look like abuse. Dad, that's the trick. It didn't start with a lock on the door or a raised fist. It started with a casserole. Susan showing up with dinner saying, 'You look exhausted, Olivia. Let me take the night shift.' And I was exhausted, so I let her. Then it was Anthony. 'Babe, why stress about the bills? I'm an accountant. Let me handle the finances so you can focus on Noah.' And I was stressed, so I thanked him. I look out the window at the passing trees, trying to explain the mechanics of the trap. It's the boiling frog, Dad. You know the story. Drop a frog in boiling water, it jumps out. But put it in cool water and turn the heat up slowly, it dies before realizing it's boiling. That was my life. The heat went up 1 degree at a time. First, Susan moved into the guest house to help. Then, she was in my kitchen every morning criticizing the nutritional value of the oatmeal I made. Then, she was checking my grocery receipts, circling items she deemed wasteful. Whenever I complained, Anthony told me I was ungrateful. He said I had postpartum anxiety. My father's jaw tightens. "Did a doctor say that?" "Oh, Anthony did. Every time I questioned why he moved our savings into a new account I couldn't access, he said I was paranoid. Every time I asked why Susan had a key to our bedroom, he said I was being difficult. They made me feel like my brain was broken. Last week, I tried to drive to the park and my keys were gone. Anthony claimed he took them for my own safety, because I'd been so scattered. 'I'm protecting you,' he said. I looked down at my hands, raw from gripping the carrier straps. They even checked my phone every night. Anthony claimed he was just preventing me from doom scrolling, which he said was bad for my mental health, but he was reading my texts, tracking my location. I stopped calling Dad because I didn't want him to worry, didn't want them to know I was cracking. I thought if I behaved better, if I stayed calmer, they'd give me my life back. My father pulls the truck onto the shoulder, puts it in park, and finally looks at me. The look in his eyes isn't anger. It's the lethal focus of a man who has hunted predators for 30 years. "That is not help, Olivia," he says, voice low and steady. "That is a siege. They isolated you, disarmed you, took you hostage. We're going back." Panic flares in my chest. "No, Dad, please. I can't. We aren't going back to talk." He shifts the truck back into gear. "We're going back to get your things. You are leaving that house today. And you are never walking on a highway shoulder again." The tires crunched over the pristine gravel driveway. My father's truck felt out of place among the imported sedans and meticulously trimmed hedges of the estate. Silence surrounded us, a fortress of beige stucco and wrought iron. Dad killed the engine, but neither of us moved. Through the windshield, I saw them. Anthony and Susan were on the patio. Susan laughed, holding a glass of white wine, while Anthony scrolled on his tablet. They looked like a magazine-perfect couple, oblivious to the mother and child they had forced to walk miles on a highway shoulder. "Stay here," my father said. I ignored him. I unbuckled Noah from the car seat, fumbling with the straps, and pulled him into my arms. I wasn't staying behind. Matching my father's stride, I walked up the driveway. Susan spotted us first. Her smile didn't falter, it froze. "Oh, look who's back," she said, voice brittle. Then she called reinforcements. "Harold, you're just in time for a glass of Chardonnay." My father's boots were heavy on the slate steps. He didn't glance at the wine, only at Anthony. "Where are her keys?" he asked, his voice the low rumble used on suspects, the one that made people stop breathing. Anthony straightened, smoothing his polo shirt. "Harold, let's not be dramatic. We were worried about her. She's been unstable. We took the keys for her safety. You know how new moms get." The casual misogyny, cloaked as concern, made my blood boil. I stepped forward. "I'm not unstable, Anthony. I'm leaving." Susan barked a laugh. "Leaving? Where will you go, Olivia? You have no job, no car, barely a brain cell left that isn't focused on diapers. We're protecting you. Keeping this family together because you clearly can't do it yourself." My father stepped between us. "No shouting. No posturing. Just a cold, flat stare. You aren't protecting her. You are holding her hostage. Give her the keys." Anthony crossed his arms, trying to match my father's height, failing miserably. "Or what, Harold? Arrest me? It's my car. My house. My rules. She wants to leave, she can walk. But she's not taking my son." The air shifted, the birds stopped singing. My father took one step closer. "Want to talk about rules? Fine. Let's talk about the law. Withholding personal property, restricting movement, preventing her from leaving with her child, unlawful imprisonment, lying to a 911 dispatcher to incite a police response, filing a false report." Susan scoffed. "Oh, please. She's hysterical. Needs rest." "No," my father said, turning to me. "Go inside. Get your documents. Get the baby's things. I'll handle them." I ran past Anthony, dodging his outstretched hand. Susan shouted something about trespassing, but my father's voice cut through. "Go ahead, Susan. Call them. I'd love to explain the situation to my former colleagues." Upstairs, the house felt alien, cold. It wasn't home, it was a crime scene. I tore open closets, shoving clothes into a duffel bag, my hands moving frantically. Noah's onesies, my jeans, anything I could grab. My breath hitched in panic. Dad stood in the doorway, a silent barrier. I clutched Noah's blanket. "Dad," I whispered. He didn't turn. His shoulders were rigid. Then I heard it. The guilt, the pain. "I saw it 6 months ago," he said, voice rough. "The Sunday dinner when you didn't laugh once. The way you looked at Anthony. I saw the light go out in your eyes, Olivia." I froze. I told myself marriage is hard, that I was respecting boundaries. But I wasn't. I was leaving you behind enemy lines unarmed. "I'm so sorry." I placed a hand on his arm. "You're here now." "But Dad, I didn't stay because I was weak." He turned, eyes searching mine. "I stayed because I was terrified. If I left without a plan, they'd take Noah." I pulled a hidden folder from under the mattress, the place Susan never checked. Inside were photos of Anthony's bank statements, screenshots of texts between him and Susan plotting to manage me. "I wasn't just surviving, Dad," I said. "I was gathering ammunition. The invisible chain of the survivor. You don't pull at it, it chokes you. You wait. Pick the lock while they sleep." Today was that moment. Dad looked at the folder, then at me. "No victim anymore. A daughter." "Let's go," he said. We descended the stairs. Anthony glared up, fury and disbelief on his face. Susan followed, phone in hand. "You can't take him," she shrieked, pointing at Noah. "That's kidnapping. I have the police on the line." Dad didn't slow. Step by heavy step, he forced Anthony back. "It is not kidnapping for a mother to travel with her child." "Preventing her from leaving?" "Unlawful restraint." Filing false reports? Criminal. Do you want me to spell out sentencing guidelines? Susan's mouth snapped shut, thumb hovering over her phone, trembling. I walked past them, into the blinding afternoon sun. Air tasted different, like oxygen. The drive to Dad's house felt like my first real breath in a year. Noah babbled in the back seat, oblivious. Relief should have followed, but my mind raced. We need to check everything, I said, dumping the duffel on the kitchen table. Dad nodded, already on the phone with his lawyer. Check what? He asked. The money, the documents, everything. I spread the papers I'd grabbed from Anthony's home office. Bank statements, loan agreements, title documents. 10 minutes in, I realized the extent of the damage. Dad hung up the phone and walked over. What did you find? I stared at the papers in my hands, numbers blurring. My car, I whispered. The SUV he bought me when Noah was born gone. Anthony had sold it 3 weeks ago to a dealership in the next county. The bill of sale was dated the day after he took my keys. $12,000 vanished. Dad's face hardened, a mask of controlled rage. But that's not all, I said, shoving a bank transfer receipt toward him. Anthony had used the money to pay off a credit card, but the card wasn't his. It was Susan's. Dad examined it, expression tightening. Susan's gambling debt? A failed business. It doesn't matter, I said. They stole my car to pay her bills. But the deeper I dug, the worse it became. A loan document appeared, a private lender, $40,000, borrower listed as Olivia Miller. I didn't sign this, I said, panic rising. Dad, look at the signature. It's like Anthony tried to mimic mine. Dad read the document, expression unchanging. My stomach turned. I logged into my banking app. Fingers trembling, I tried the password. Incorrect. Again. Locked out. Automated voice. Balance ending in 44.92 is $0. Everything was gone. The car, the trust fund, my credit. It wasn't control anymore. It was a deliberate attempt to bankrupt me, to trap me with no way out. Dad studied the forged loan, the car sale, the transfers. This isn't a marriage issue, he said, voice steady. This is felony fraud. When Anthony and Susan arrived, shouting and threatening custody, I calmly opened the door and handed Dad the envelope. Inside, loan documents, bank records, the forged signature. Anthony's confidence collapsed as he read. You stole $56,000, I said. That's not marriage. That's a crime. Return the money by morning, or it goes to the district attorney. Panic replaced fury. They left, exposed and powerless. 3 months later, I locked the door of my own apartment, a small, quiet place chosen by me. My bank balance was modest, but it was mine. Anthony faced charges. I was rebuilding my life. It was the first time in years I felt free from the cage they had built. No more invisible chains, no more slow-boiling heat. I could breathe, walk without fear, and reclaim the life that had been stolen from me. Noah laughed, chasing sunlight across the living room floor. I watched him, a quiet joy swelling in my chest. I had survived. And now, finally, we were safe. The apartment smelled of fresh paint and possibility. Small, quiet, carefully chosen by me. No high ceilings, no manicured lawns, no people dictating every step. Just walls I owned, space I controlled, and a life I could rebuild. I dropped the duffel bag onto the bed. Noah toddled over, curious, babbling in his 2-year-old language. I pulled him close, feeling the weight of months, of fear, manipulation, and loss, begin to lift. The walls of control Anthony and Susan had built around me were gone. For the first time in half a year, I felt like a mother, not a hostage. Dad sat across from me at the tiny kitchen table, going over the documents one last time. He was meticulous, his years as a police chief coming in handy. Every forged signature, every account transfer, every loan was catalogued, ready for prosecution. You've done well, he said, voice soft but firm. You stayed alive, kept Noah safe, and gathered evidence. That's more than most people could manage in your situation. I nodded, relief washing over me, but the memory of fear still lingered. The nights I lay awake, thinking about the lies, the monitoring, the manipulation. The nights I held Noah close on the highway shoulder, wondering if my father would find us in time. I thought I was weak, I whispered. But I stayed because I had to. And I waited. I knew the moment would come. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. And that moment is now. You're free. And this time, no one can take that from you. Over the next weeks, I slowly rebuilt. My apartment became home. Toys and books in a corner, kitchen utensils in drawers I could reach, a small herb garden by the window. Noah laughed more freely, exploring the new space with the innocence of a child who doesn't yet know fear. I reconnected with friends I had withdrawn from, explaining the barest truths, keeping some details private. The support I received reminded me that I wasn't alone. The small acts of kindness and recognition rebuilt my confidence brick by brick. Financially, it was a slow climb. Anthony's fraudulent actions had drained our accounts, but with Dad's help and the legal proceedings underway, I recovered what was taken. Each bank transfer restored, each document signed, each stolen item accounted for. It was justice, measured and deliberate. And through it all, I discovered something deeper: resilience. I had survived manipulation, deceit, and control. I had protected my child, gathered proof, and reclaimed my life. It wasn't just about escaping. It was about growing stronger in the process. Some days the memories returned, like sharp flashes, reminders of the danger I had endured. But each time I reminded myself, I am not the same person who walked that highway shoulder 6 months ago. I am stronger, smarter, and fully aware of my worth. Noah reached for my hand as we sat on the balcony one evening, sunlight fading into amber. "Mama," he said, voice small and sure. "Yes, baby," I answered. He pointed to the sky. "Safe." I smiled, tears threatening but not falling. "Yes, we're safe." It was a simple word, but it carried the weight of months of terror, anxiety, and uncertainty. It meant freedom, control, and the ability to choose my path. I thought back to the first steps of our escape, the moment I decided to leave with Noah in my arms, trusting my father to help. It had been terrifying, but necessary. And now, looking at the life we were building, I realized something essential. Survival isn't just about escaping. It's about reclaiming yourself, your space, your choices. The past would always be a part of us, but it no longer controlled us. Anthony faced justice. Susan faced exposure. And I, Olivia Miller, mother, survivor, and fighter, stood in the sunlight, finally free. Noah laughed again, running through the small apartment, and I followed, holding my head high. This was our life, chosen and protected. And we were never going back.